be too deep. I think I'm dying here, man.
Welcome to the 3B Video Deep Cut Podcast.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. It was fun.
Aw, yeah, it's that time again for another bi-weekly podcast with your hosts, Rotten Roger DeMarco and
Evil Dead Inks. And Raj, are you willing to play Nancy one last time?
Almost There. Yeah, and speaking of almost there, we are at the tail end of this franchise.
Only 2 more to do?
Just one. There's only one left.
I think there's 2, but all right. We'll go with your math on one.
Unless the final episode is covering every single episode of Freddy's Nightmares, which we've teased. I just don't think we're gonna do that.
If, and this is not a definite if, this is a legitimate if we do, it will just be a super fucking broad generalization over the series, not under any episodes necessarily, unless it's
any format.
Yeah, unless it's the Lori Petty one, but that's still. I mean, we might wait till that's actually got physical releases, because just like Sidekicks, we're really hoping that happens sometime soon.
It's going to happen. But over the course of this journey, I've kind of tiptoed around it, and I might have brought it up a few times, that this is arguably it's in my top 3 Elm Street films of all time. This is so good and so different, and Wes was slightly ahead of his time, kind of dipping his toe into that self-referential pool that he dove fully into with Scream a few years later. But
isn't this Scream the like Ground Zero or Patient Zero?
Yeah, this is Scream the template. But man, this is a different take on Krueger, and I know we've brought it up in previous podcasts, but Krueger was starting to become a silly little mascot, a shadow of his former self, especially with the last entry, even though Evil and I both love it. But boy, is he leather pants and angry in this movie.
Yeah, this was in leather pants meant badass, and not like, that's kind of gay. Like, maybe we're going back to part 2 here. Yes, there, at least for me, there was a point in time where, like, leather pants, oh, that's badass. That's a bad motherfucker right there. And I was like, nah, he's going to Don's place.
Yeah. Super weird.
Did you ever want leather pants?
I don't think I ever was a leather pants guy. I did, from 1991-ish for quite a few years, really want a leather jacket because of Terminator 2, but I just don't. I'm not a leather jacket guy. I knew I couldn't pull it off, so I never got one. And
I still want a good one that fits right, like a fucking Negan style jacket.
You could probably pull that off. I just, look like Danny DeVito, so I'm just not tough enough to rock a leather jacket. But speaking of leather-clad what's-a-mahoozits, this whole look for Freddy, boy, it's revamped. It's different.
Didn't even know it was Freddy when I first saw it. The first time I saw any of this was the trailer on Man's Best Friend. And I'm like, hey, that looks like the girl from that first Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I wonder what this is about. Like, this is weird. Like, it looks kind of like an Elm Street, but nah, it's not.
But it's not an Elm Street?
And then dude pops out, miss me? And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. That was Freddy, I think. Go back and look at it again. Like, I think that's Freddy. New Nightmare. I was like, this gotta be a Freddy movie. They said they were done.
They lied, man. As long as the money's there, they do not care.
You mean the movie lied to me?
It will fucking keep lying. They'll keep coming.
You told me if we destroyed the brain, he'd die.
I hit the fucking brain. Return of the Living Dead reference, deep cut. But so, where do you rank this Krueger look? I know you and I've kind of talked about it here and there, I don't think you're as sold on it as I am, but it's definitely not your least favorite look, if I remember right.
No, I would put it ahead of 5 and 6. So probably 1, 2, 3, 4, and this. But it's weird. I always think of New Nightmare as being completely kind of outside of the series. Like there's 1 through 6, and then there's like the bonus round is New Nightmare.
Yeah.
So it's on its own, and I don't dislike it. I enjoy it, but it's just not one. I don't even think of it when I think of like I'm in the mood to watch a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I rarely think of putting in New Nightmare. It's probably the least watched.
Wow. Okay.
Of the set.
See, for me, it's the exact opposite. But I do know what you're talking about. Because it's not a fun movie. Like all the other entries in Elm Street are pretty fun. You know, even the scary ones are fun. And this one is scary, but it's a sad movie. It's a really hard tone to describe. It's so self-referential and hip, but it's also a downer. Boy, is it a downer movie. But I think, Wes really wanted to take control of the character again and be like, you should not be having a good time. You should be scared of this guy. You should be sad for your losses, and you should be terrified to have to square off against this guy.
I think he was hiding a very bitter part of him about the character being taken in the direction it was, and him being kind of shortchanged for most of the decade between 1 and 7 out of coin. So, and it comes off like there's a knock on it in Scream about the first one's good, the rest suck, and he talks about it in this one when a story gets watered down or character gets overexposed. Is like he's veiling that he's like really bitter about this franchise going where it went.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, short of him and Bob Shea like doing a celebrity boxing thing on fucking like Fox.
Oh man,
you know what I mean?
I don't know who would have won. Who do you think went? Boxing match: Robert Shea versus Wes Craven.
I want to just say Wes Craven, but I think Bob Shea would fight dirty.
I do too. I think Wes would have a lot of pent up rage, a lot of shit to get out of the basement, so to speak. But I feel like Rob Shea would hide like fucking metal in his gloves, attach razor blades to that shit. He'd be fucking throwing elbows and hitting nut shots in there, like just being the dirtiest boxer on the planet, biting people. He's Mike Tyson.
Yeah, and that's a perfect visual for the way that this franchise went. To be honest, like Wes created this character and Bob kind of finagled it out from under him with contracts and all of these other things, and being able to be like, okay, well, you can write a treatment, but we can pass on your treatment. You know what I mean? Like there was all this stuff surrounding the character.
He lawyer-like utilized him in order to build his business, which to an aspect I can see, because he did put up way more money than he even had to get the first one made. So he kind of like to keep his head above water and not become a homeless man. He had to do all this kind of underhanded shit from part 2 on to actually make money and to do what he wanted to do. And then I guess after the 10-year kind of mark, they kind of made up and retroactively paid Wes, after 10 years of
nothing.
Well, and after 10 years, he's actually got money now. There's actually a studio and people, and it's not 4 fucking people in a trunk.
Yeah, and pulling prints of movies out of the fucking bed of the truck or the trunk.
Yeah, Mountain of the Cannibal Gods screening out of the trunk days are done.
Yeah, and like you were saying, as a result, this script is very strong, right? This is Wes really having commentary over his baby being taken from him and Krueger being turned into a fucking slapstick cartoon character, and really like getting control of the reins and retroactively fixing everything, because like you said, it's its own thing. It's separate.
Yeah.
So like if you're a fan of that Goof Troop Krueger, you can go down Goof Troop Avenue, or you can watch 1, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and you totally, can get a full franchise worth out of 2 movies.
Yeah. And we're all assuming you have seen this, but if you haven't, a quick brief is it's 10 years after the first Elm Street, and this is what happens if Freddy was a real entity and started actually harassing the people who were in A Nightmare on Elm Street. And yeah, we start out with Heather Langenkamp doing an interview on a news, like a morning news show, like a talk TV show, which I guess the guy that's doing the interview with her is the same guy that was interviewing Sam Jackson and confused him for, I can't remember who he confused him with, but a different black actor.
Oh, no.
And Sam Jackson was like, "Oh, we don't all look the same, motherfucker." I totally forget who he confused him for. But they have... And
the Allstate What's in Your Wallet guy?
Oh, fucking Pedro Serrano?
I don't know.
I knew it, and then now I'm on the under the gun. I can't think of who it was. He confused
under the Ken Sagos gun, man.
Also a black actor. I don't think he confused Ken Sagos with him. It might have been Lawrence Fishburne. No. It might have been Lawrence Fishburne. But we have in this moment, Robert Englund would come out as Retro Freddy, and I was curious what you thought, because I feel that Wes could have done a complete retro looking Freddy, and it would be as effective or imposing as this revamped Freddy, because he does a fucking awesome shot of him doing the "You're All My Children Now" thing in slow motion. And it's probably the first time in most of the 10 years that he actually looks kind of spooky.
Yeah, well, okay, so here's the thing. I think he could have used Retro Krueger, and everyone would have already, you're familiar with the look, everything, so people would just accept it. But I also think there's this weird connotation with the cartoon character that Krueger is. So when you see him look that way, it's kind of hard to forget the previous entries and to just be like, okay, one and this are all that matters, if he looks like he did when he was being slapsticky, because then I feel like people are going to expect him to be slapsticky. So I feel like Wes had to show Retro Krueger to be like, this is that character, and then, make Scary Krueger, in quotations, way different. Robert Englund looks way bigger. He looks bulky. The trench coat with the stripes inside of it, the leather pants, the boots, the new glove, to really set it apart. So I think he could have, but I think this is more effective.
I would have liked to have seen him take the retro look and just with lights and shit and just movement and tweaks, really take it back. I think it could have been as effective.
Yeah, I just thought of something because you said that. So if they had done it that way, we see Krueger, just use the Skin the Cat as a reference, because this film doesn't have a large body count. I think less than
this franchise doesn't have a large body count.
So we don't really see Krueger when the car accident, when Chase dies. So just using Skin the Cat as an example. So you have Retro Krueger, and he looks kind of slapsticky, and then the hospital lights flicker, and then he drops the shoulder because the glove is heavy, and the eyes are, they're that gross witchy eye from part 2.
And then the voice comes.
You know what I mean? If you had done it, if you had built that atmosphere to where it's like you get the pop when the crowd sees Krueger as Funny Krueger, and the crowd goes, yeah!
But then it gets dark.
That could totally work. We kind of get that in this movie with the "Miss Me" moment, but we don't get to soak up that moment. We get "Miss Me" and then rah, 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 you know what I mean? Real fast, in your face, swiping at her.
I'd really like how there's a lot of the outtakes and deleted scenes from the first movie. I would really love a whole like slinky, like giggling, slow moving, slinky kind of Freddy in this, in that retro look. I really think it would have worked. I probably would be more into it. It might be, I don't know, maybe I'm just realizing now, maybe the look, even though I do dig the look, maybe if I had a retro look and a even more imposing than this one, Freddy under that old banner, maybe it would have been more in my rotation. Because in my mind, thinking of it, I'm like, man, I want to watch that right now.
Well, and spoiler alert for 2 weeks down the road, you know, that's the stuff for us, I think, that works about the new Elm Street. I say new, it was fucking 2010.
It's only 12 years ago.
Yeah, so not that long ago. But yeah, like, he has the retro look to an extent, but he's gross. And I feel scary. Even though, you know, there's some shitty stuff in that movie, but we'll get to it. But yeah, like, and that's probably why you like the remake, or watch the remake more, rather, than you watch Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Because you've got that kind of retro look, but you also get gross Krueger.
Yeah. And we also have, we also, aside from the look, we've abandoned the traditional glove.
Yeah.
We start out with, and man, it's right there. Like, I really want that kind of old school feel, because I love how this movie fucking starts. With the fucking music, and the boiler room sets. Like, it starts like, yes, I'm home. Mm-hmm. And when we start, we have this complete Terminator looking glove that's
it's gnarly, yeah.
And I'm curious, what would you have preferred if you'd had the full on? That's even in some of the posters. He has the full on mechanical Terminator hand, and it ends up he has this bone looking hand that has 5 claws on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's where it got me as a kid, because you would see a full-page ad for it in, like, Fangoria, which was the poster or whatever, and the poster and the VHS cover, it's all that robot hand. Mm-hmm. It's the robot hand, and Krueger looking really kind of creepy on the cover. You go in thinking that's what you're getting, and then they swerve bro you, and then he's got the, you know, Chase was working on the new glove or whatever. And I don't know which I'd prefer. Like,
as a kid, I love the 5-bladed glove thing, but adult me would have been like, give me the retro glove or give me this fucking Terminator hand instead.
See, the Terminator glove to me, like, it's almost too sleek. I guess what I would prefer is
more looking like he really, like how the glove looks, like really kind of like shoddy and homemade.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Homemade instead of looking too clean and sleek.
Sounds like it came out of OCP.
Yeah, but if I could go back in time, what I would just change is I would just change the marketing. I would put the bone hand, the real glove, on the poster art.
Which I guess it's not much of a glove. It's just that's the demon's like
hand.
Yeah, because that's spoiler, I guess. But yeah, this is not Freddy. It's just a demon that is as old as time, that just likes the story of Fred Krueger and just adopted his look and persona, more or less.
Yeah, essentially.
So I guess that's demon hand and demon face. Like, it's not a burnt head, it's like a split skin kind of a look.
Yeah. And somehow, some way, which this is just the magic of filmmaking and obviously the talent of the director of photography. But, you know, we've talked about it.
Who did the DOP? Was that, did Jock Aitken come back for that?
It might have been. I don't have the character, the crew list in front of me, but
I'm bringing that shit up.
Whoever did it, and with Wes Craven's vision,
Mark Irwin was the cinematographer.
There you go. But made Robert Englund seem 6'6". Like, Robert Englund seems so big in this movie, and we've talked about it before in previous entries. Robert's not a big guy. No. Krueger is not necessarily ever large and imposing unless he's Super Freddy, which comes across kind of chunky. So in this movie, you know, the trench coat, this is one aspect where layers works. Like, I'm not a jacket Jason guy. We talked about that before, but
But Jason's already a big guy. When you're a little guy, you add layers, look bigger.
good old Jacket Kruger, man. It's different, and
Although it's something we've kind of seen. Like, there's publicity shots for part 3 and 4 where he's got a jacket on. It's not his normal wears. Like, in 4, I think it's like an Indiana Jones-looking jacket, leather jacket. And in 3, he's got like the 1987 of the time, like a long trench coat, but it's like the interwoven black, white, and gray material.
Yeah, it's weird looking.
So 1987, like, oh, perfect. Like, it's not something Freddy Krueger you would think would wear, but only in 1987, Freddy would be like, yeah, I'm gonna wear that shit.
So we got to bring him up. We got to talk about child star Miko Hughes, who is no stranger to horror. There's been a ton of stuff, Pet Sematary, Kindergarten Cop, blah blah. Even though Kindergarten Cop's not horror, but you know what I'm saying.
Isn't that weird to be like a insane horror icon before you're fucking 20?
Yeah, it really is. And we got to talk about, he's a young kid. He was probably 9 when he did this movie, at best. Like, he's a young kid. And boy, does he act his ass off. And most of the scenes with him are the scariest thing in this movie. Like, they bother me on a weird subconscious different level, because I have a son who has night terrors and sleepwalks. So now as an adult, I'm like,
you're waiting for him to be down in the fucking kitchen making a knife hand out of the fucking Echo steak knives and duct tape.
Yeah, we're probably not far off from that, but man, I tell you, like, as a kid watching this movie, I was weird. Like, I was scared of Freddy, but this movie hit on a weird subconscious level for me when Chase dies. I at this point in time in my life, I had kind of suffered my first real death in my family, and I had another family member who was sick and kind of on their way out when this movie came out. And so this movie handles death differently than other entries in the franchise. Death is 100% permanent and scary in this movie.
Oh, I can fine point that. Probably a definite big reason I don't watch this movie a whole lot is there's a scene that's the most heartbreaking, hard to watch scene for me, and it was from Jump Street, and I thought it then, and I think it tenfold more today, but it's after Chase dies, and it's just Heather trying to sleep in the bed, and I just totally get that feeling of like it's a big bed and she's on her own, and just that laying there thinking of like, there should be 2 of us in here, and I'm in here on my own, and that kind of lost, what do you do next kind of feeling. Like, it's really fucking strong and powerful in that moment, and it's nothing said or done, and I don't even know if it's anything necessarily. I've never asked Heather Langenkamp about it. I might next time I have a chance to meet her, like how just really powerful that scene is without doing really anything.
Yeah, that's the power of the visuals in this movie, which goes back to the DP and goes back to Wes.
Wes loves a broken home. He is.
Oh boy.
He had a broken home life, and he puts that shit in, I think, damn near every movie, if not every movie he's done.
Oh yeah.
There's no happy families anywhere.
No, it's definitely there, and Wes really plays into that. But this whole movie, it's got like a cloud of sadness all around it, despite the fact that it's expertly made and it's such a good movie. But you go back and you look at the stuff with the earthquake footage, like that's in the script.
Yeah.
But it's this weird, like, in the movie, his script is becoming reality. And in reality, his script was becoming reality. Like, he's writing about earthquakes, and then fucking L.A.
Yeah, the North
crumbles.
Ridge quake, like a 7.0 quake hit. So they sent out a second unit film crew to just go get footage because, like, we'll never get this kind of shots like this again because it was legitimately happening at the time.
As a result, like, the overall feel of the movie is very heavy because, like you said, with that being in the script and it not actually happening, you know, you're building miniatures or whatever, and it's not the same as a real
destruction,
fucking interstate collapsing,
catastrophe, tragedy. Something we're unfortunately way more familiar with in this day and age than we were in probably '94. In '94, like the North Ridge quake would have been like the big tragedy for at least a couple of years.
Oh,
now that shit's like flavor of the fucking hour.
Yep. Yeah, dude. Because we're going to hell in a handbasket real quick.
It's only getting faster, man. It's only getting faster.
Yeah.
So that's why you listen to the Deep Cut podcast to escape, and then we bring it up here too.
Yeah, and then we ruin your day. We ruin your drive. You're probably driving past some fucking earthquake damage right now, like these fucking idiots.
Okay, so in along a line with that, about Wes writing about the earthquake stuff and legitimately happening, another thing I know that was in initial script, and we both know the story and have seen the illustrations of it, would have been great to tag team with that retro Freddy that I would want to see, the dark, you know, slinky Freddy we were just talking about. What if we were to have, instead of Wes playing how he plays himself, we get the shots of him with his eyelids cut off and he's fucking feverishly writing as Michael Berryman is driving him in this fucking unmarked van all around Hollywood trying to keep away from Freddy.
That would change the tone drastically. I thought you were going to bring up the fucking Freddy mobile on the interstate, and I was like,
gosh.
no, that's a Hasbro toy. That's not a fucking thing that belongs in a movie.
I mean, that is, but I don't know if that would have been any more or less like goofy looking than a lineup of like 40 Freddys, which are clearly like really kind of
stunt dudes
wearing masks that are equivalent to the one that I bought back in the day that's now in your collection, the new Nightmare mask. Like, it looks like okay.
Yeah.
And what the fuck is the deal with Miko Hughes wanting to cross the highway? He is just destined to be hit by trucks in movies.
He's got to cross that highway because he wants to go home, which Nancy or Heather tells him is right across the freeway.
Right across that highway filled with Orinco trucks that are listening to the Ramones, looking to kill you.
Yeah, fucking real life Frogger going on. Which, again, one of our all-time absolute favorite effects. Anytime you can do anything in camera, you're gonna make me and Evil very happy. And this movie pulls out all the stops, very Terminator 2-esque, with its hey, let's use rear projection to make it look like people are on the highway. In ultra high definition, you can kind of tell that
I need to.
I'm
gonna rewatch the Blu-ray and to really look at that scene closer. Every time I see like the bits of it, I say I'm gonna do that, and I haven't done it, to see if I can tell like the difference that's a projection screen, that when Heather's ducking underneath the fucking truck, which I love her telling a story like she had to do that duck so many times that she was as sore as shit the next day.
Oh, I bet.
I can feel it now. Like, that's probably more painful than getting hit by a fucking car on the highway at full speed, which she gets up from, by the way.
Yes, she does. But yeah, so there's a lot of rear projection in this movie. And I think Craven like totally got his idea to do that from Cameron, because T2 is notorious for the rear projection during the truck chasing John Connor on the motorcycle, and the final battle when they're in the little truck and Schwarzenegger goes from the little,
like the planter's truck to the 18-wheeler carrying nitroglycerin.
But all that is standing absolutely still, and that's rear, and it's gorgeous. And that is the type of stuff when we are just like mind blown, because again, you watch it as a kid, and man, you're right there. You're like, they're on a highway. That's fucking scary. And then when you learn how it's done and how sparsely they chop it in the edit, man, it's just chef's kiss all day long.
It's pretty wild. And like we had mentioned earlier, when we get to the skin the cat scene, how do you feel about that? Like we're redoing the Tina kill, which crime she's not. That Amanda Wyss isn't somewhere in this movie. You would think that she's one of the friends that Heather calls, because she has no one to call in her life apparently, except for people she made this movie with 10 years ago. So it's either Robert Englund or John Saxon. But we get the redoing of Amanda Wyss's kill. Only this time we're seeing Freddy do it the whole time.
Yeah.
Preference. Do you like seeing him or like not seeing him? Or would you like seeing the deleted scenes from the first one where you get to see like her perspective of him dragging her?
Well, you see, and that's what Wes Craven's New Nightmare does, is we intercut between Dylan's perspective of seeing her and then to her perspective of not seeing him. And I like the alternating, but if I had to choose, I'd rather not see him at all. Like, I think that's way scarier, because you as the audience are going, what is he doing? You know,
yeah.
I think it's that's that old adage, you know, the Savini thing of like, what you don't see is sometimes scarier, because
sometimes what you don't see is what you do see, and what you do see is not what you really see. Everything is nothing.
Yes. But it's effective, and if you compare those scenes, if you had two TVs and you put them side by side and you watched them, you're not going to convince me that the first Elm Street, the way that it's handled in that, is scarier. Like, that is scarier than the other one. I mean, you're not going to convince me otherwise.
And speaking of Julie, the babysitter who gets this Tina death.
I think I know where you're going.
Where we have the dropped, apparently midway through filming storyline of she's the one that's supposed to be making these obscene phone calls or responsible for it. And she's always in the background kind of giving these fucking looks, these side-eye looks. And then
I want that storyline so bad.
That she is possessed or being puppeteered by Freddy.
Just that she's I can't remember if she was possessed or puppeteered, but just that her being a part of it in any facet, to me, is exciting. And luckily, you know, for us, Wes and Kevin Williamson kind of got to do that. I mean, that's exactly what they did with Scream. Like, you've got these characters who are seemingly there to help or whatever. They have a very friendly demeanor, and then it turns out in the end the old bait and switch. So it's like, you definitely feel like Craven was there with Wes Craven's New Nightmare and then scrapped it. But then him and Kevin Williamson somehow were like, you know, this is what I was going to do. And, and thus Scream was born. But, like, yeah, I love the idea of Julie being somewhat responsible, if not fully responsible, for a lot of the shit in that movie.
Okay, I'm putting a tweak sales pitch to you, along with the Freddy that I would like, the Wes Craven that I would like. What if Julie, and what if we take a little bit of one of those failed Freddy vs. Jason scripts and a little bit of Rosemary's Baby, and we introduce the Fredheads cult, and she's one of the key members of a Fredheads cult that's trying to resurrect him in real life because they are pissed that the movies have stopped being made.
Yeah,
and there are reason why Freddy is actually real. Now, you can still keep the aspect that he's a demon disguised as Freddy. So you just have like demonologist cult people that are just called Fredheads that resurrect a demon that's in the shape of Freddy that are really fans that the series is no longer done. So what are they going to do? They're going to unleash this shit on the real world.
That's interesting. I thought you were going to be like, and it turns out she's Freddy's daughter or some shit. And
You
I'm
just
like,
break out some more stuff, like more people are in on it than you would, like everybody is in on it.
Saxon's in on it, like some race
Yes.
with the devil shit.
Yes, and he's totally playing up the, like, why are you calling me John? So instead of it actually turning into the fucking movie at the end of this, he's just gaslighting her the whole time that Heather's in the movie.
Bruh. I did the bruh. We're fucking on to something now. Let me tell you. That is different. I like that. I like that a lot.
We're copywriting all of this to make our
right.
we're making the next, even though we say we're not making fan films, we're making the ultimate real New Nightmare.
Man, that's really intriguing. Obviously different from what we got, because the movie does, that whole subplot with Julie gone. The Wes Craven, he changed himself to being more true to life Wes Craven instead of the, feverishly typing away and trying to beat this script and stay alive.
Living in a fucking mansion with a pool 3 miles long.
I like that he's like, that's not what my house looks like at all.
Yeah, like, bullshit. We know Deadly Friend paid for that house.
Right. Well, maybe Bob Shaye's residuals hooked him up.
I can't even imagine what a residual check for almost a decade of Freddy merchandise and money would bring in.
Oh my god.
From 1984 to 1994, shit.
Bank.
Even half that time frame, I could leave my car at the red light today.
So, it's kind of funny that Bob Shaye, in previous entries, always kind of found a way to shoehorn himself into the movie.
I love that he's in so many of these movies.
Right. Well, and then it's kind of funny that Wes, when he took over and was like, I'm making Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but you have to play yourself. That's kind of, I feel like Wes was really proud of himself when he came up with, I could just imagine him in his apartment or house or whatever, and I'm going to have Bob Shaye play his fucking self.
And have him say, someone answer the goddamn phone. All right.
Risotto con tartufi. It's fantastico.
In his fucking office, just adorned with all this Freddy merchandise, which I just wanted all of that when I was a kid. But we have
those pop art posters.
Oh gosh. So we have Robert Shaye in Don's place in part 2. We have him as a near suicidal looking teacher in part 4. We have him as the ticket booth taker in Freddy's Dead. We have him playing himself here. And we have him playing in a hot fucking flash of a scene, him as a principal, I'm guessing, in Freddy vs. Jason. Which is your favorite Bob Shaye role in the Nightmare series?
Gay bar Bob Shaye.
Gay bar Bob Shaye?
Yeah, all day long.
I fucking love him in part 4, man. That is a dude who has a hidden bottom drawer in his desk that's full of whiskey. And he's pulling a Ted. He's on the fucking roof of that school every day, like, just take your time, Teddy. One step's all it takes.
Oh, yeah, he's very on the verge of suicide in part 4.
He is sad sack Ted as this high school teacher.
If you got to give a brown panty award to anybody in this film, because we technically, Chuck and Terry die.
That's who I give it to.
Chuck and Terry? Okay, I was going to say, because there's technically, 4 victims in this movie? Chuck, Terry, Chase, and the babysitter.
Yeah.
I just fucking blanked at Julie.
Yeah, I gave it to Chuck and Terry because they're killed in a nightmare sequence in the beginning of this film. We never see them in the real world, ever. And then we get a throwaway scene where they're on the news that their bodies were found in a fucking vacant field. I'm like, so what the fuck happened with these guys? I felt so bad. What happened to Chuck and Terry?
That's an excellent brown panty award. I will say this. As a kid, and still to this day, the sound that Heather Langenkamp's TV makes when it keeps turning on, that gong, noise that it makes. And that's a real noise.
Oh,
CRT TVs
Our
make.
TV, both of us, I'm sure, had TVs that made that noise.
That noise kind of scares me. The way that it's only after this movie. That noise never bothered me until this movie. But the way, I don't know what it is about it in this movie, the way that noise happens, it's almost like it's part of the score.
Yeah.
And also the fact that the TV keeps fucking turning on, that's a different level of scary in this movie that has absolutely nothing to do with Freddy, but Freddy's power. And it always bothered me as a kid when electronics just fucking
apparently Heather
work out of nowhere.
Yeah, apparently Heather Langenkamp buys her appliances and electronics from the same place Clu Gallagher does.
Right.
This damn thing wasn't even plugged in.
Yeah, goddamn cherry bomb. No,
We just needed that TV to catch fire. Good Lord.
If I get to give a brown panty award, it's got to go to Chase for me because, standard horror movie thing is you meet this significant other, and they're fucking wonderful. They're like perfect. They're the most perfect person on the planet, and then
that means they have to die.
They get killed for no good reason really. And Chase is fucking on point in this movie. He's despite the fact that he's hiding that he's working on a Freddy movie, which I'm sure he was just waiting for the perfect time to tell her.
I mean, come on, that's pretty shitty to be like. If
you think that's shitty?
All right, yes, and I will sell it to you that it is shitty that he is already in pre-production on this movie. They have already
sculpted and
sculpted. They have a model design. They are way into already. They are making this movie. You think you might have mentioned something that you're married to the star of the first Elm Street and is supposed to be the star of this movie.
Well, so he does, and I feel like there had been subtle hints prior to the way this movie starts, because he's like, you got to get back on the horse sometime. Like he's kind of like ushering her into
but that's
being okay with being in a horror film.
But this comes after. This is after the fact that they've started getting obscene phone calls again. So he has to know that, like, oh, this is really kind of torturing the wife. You know what might make this better? Doing another one of these movies to probably instigate this guy more.
All right, I see what you're saying. But I still like Chase, and
I like Chase too. But I was like, but recently I've come under the realization I was like, oh, Chase is kind of a fuck.
Yeah, that's really not nice. Now that you put it that way.
No.
But I mean, he had to know that Bob. Okay. So let's assume Okay, never mind. Scratch that. Let's assume. He has no idea of anything in the script because he's getting props to build. He's not reading the script. So let's say he has no idea that Heather is going to be involved in this film whatsoever. It's just an effects gig for him. I mean, maybe he mentions, I'm working on a new horror film, but he doesn't say a Freddy movie because obviously she doesn't know Freddy's coming back until Bob sits her down and says, we're bringing him back and we want you.
That's just another weird aspect of the relationship. Like he comes home from work after he's clearly been working on this for a while, and neither of them are like, how was your day? What you're working on? Like, does she not give a fuck what he does for work, or does he not give a fuck to tell her what he actually is doing?
Boy, we're gonna get stuck on this.
What's the dynamic really of this relationship? Are they really as happy as they appear to be in the brief time we see them? Because she is clueless. Heather is clueless as to what he is doing, and is pissed to find out he's working on a new glove. And he totally blows that off. Like fuck talking about Chuck and Terry. You tell me you're getting harassing phone calls again while I'm working on this movie that you are a main star of a very sonic kind of limited franchise that you're a crucial role in the franchise already.
And here's the other thing about that, which they kind of, he's an effects artist, so is it just assumed that he just goes to work and sculpts and stuff there?
I mean, it's his effects company. It's like Chase Effects. Yeah. Like, he's running the show. He should know everything.
Yeah. So here's the aspect what I was getting to is when a production comes to you and says, okay, we're doing this, give us some spec ideas. Like, he's going to be sketching. He's going to be sketching new gloves, like, because you don't just sculpt and then waste all that time sculpting, and then whoever be like, I don't really like that, start over. You know, I mean, that's a waste of time. Whereas drawing something, you know, then the director or whatever can look at it and go, yeah, that's,
eraser, get rid of all the numbers.
Yeah. Before they drive you crazy. Yeah. Too late.
There should be a trash can in his office full of crumpled up papers of this design that she should be picking up, pissed off that he's not doing the trash and seen this shit.
There you go. That would be a perfect way to handle it, is like,
she finds like his sketches and shit, like a whole like notebook.
New Kruger looks.
Yes.
Yeah, come on. Why didn't we?
Production books just filled with
should have
the
explored
designs,
that.
like the Exorcist shit of like how they got Linda Blair looking the way she looks for new Robert look, and the he's fucking lying to her as well.
Yeah, why didn't we do
That's why he's all of a sudden not answering the phone calls, because he's going back and
filming.
he's going into filming.
Man, dude, okay, like, we're on to something.
Or if you go with the Rosemary's Baby aspect, is he's completely oblivious and he's fucking sacrificed, and his body is inhabited by the demon.
Yes.
And that's how you get the morphing between the demon and Freddy, is it's actually Robert Englund's body, but he's being what's the word I'm looking for?
Puppeteered,
but avatared.
Oh, okay, yeah. Speaking of Robert Englund in this movie, I want to ask you a question. I think I've talked to you about this before, but I don't know if I'm alone in my thought process with this, but when I was a kid, and if you can remember the very first time you saw this movie, and the movie's unfolding before your eyes and you have no idea what's coming, in my brain, I had sort of invented this sequence where Demon Freddy would kill Robert Englund. Like, they would clash.
That, I don't know why we didn't get that. Like, that should be like, maybe just the technology wasn't there to really kind of portray that looking. Fuck,
man, put any stunt, well, not any stunt man, because we saw what happened in part
we've
two,
seen what happens when we try to put a stunt guy trying to play Freddy. It doesn't work. You would have, and it's not like you can do like some double impact shit with two Van Dams. Is this light or really dark? I mean, you got to have one guy that looks like Robert Englund, so it has to be Robert Englund, more or less. And you got to have somebody that looks like Freddy and acts like Freddy, which is not doable by anybody else.
But if you're doing over shoulder, you could.
But yeah, that's
shemp Robert Englund or shemp Kruger, because you're showing the back of his head.
Yeah.
And then when you got the camera over Robert Englund's shoulder, you can shemp Robert Englund with another short, balding guy, and have Robert Englund be in the Kruger makeup.
You can.
It would be a bitch to film.
Yeah, like that would be. It'd be a pain in the ass to film, and it's super limiting on what you're able to show. Like, it's gonna be more like a Transformers fight than it would be like, oh, we can't really see what the hell's going on kind of thing. But I mean, nowadays we could totally get that, and it would look shit. Now we have LeBron James talking to younger LeBron James in commercials, so.
Oh, yeah.
Nowadays, we could have the total Robert Englund versus Freddy Krueger fight, and it would be awesome.
When you watched this movie, did you think that something like that was going to happen?
I thought something would happen, and then I was like, he just disappeared. Okay.
Yeah, because, like, I invented that in my head. I'm like, that's going to happen. Like, I was like, John Saxon's going to have to face the fact that Freddy's real.
I didn't think John Saxon would, but I thought for sure, because Robert's painting that painting, which, sidebar, if the Scream Factory ever releases copies of this movie, I want his painting to be a steel book.
Oh, God, yes. But no, like, the way the movie unfolds, especially the scene you were talking about earlier where it's like, why are you calling me?
Why are you calling me John?
Yeah, why are you calling me John, Nancy? At that point in the movie, when I was watching it for the first time, I thought, oh, God, Freddy's in the house, and John Saxon's going to have to, you know, I was just already seeing, like, John Saxon shooting the demon that is Freddy Krueger, and then John Saxon dying. Like, there was all these things in my head, like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is, like, and don't get me wrong, the final product that we get, the movie that is Wes Craven's New Nightmare, fucking amazing. It's a masterpiece, but...
Yeah. We just can't help but wonder.
Yeah, 1993, Roger was going, oh man, what if Robert Englund fights Freddy? What if Garcia and everybody gets fucking killed?
Why doesn't Garcia come back and he's lost the car keys?
Yeah, and Rod Lane and everybody, like.
But we do get Sue Garcia. He's one of the 2 like Elm Street alum cameos at Chase's funeral. He's there, and Tuesday Night's there, which I don't know why Tuesday Night's there. She's in part 4, which if you're gonna get anyone from part 4, it'd be Brooke Thice.
Yeah,
because she was in the show Just the 10 of Us with Heather Langenkamp, but Tuesday Night's there for an unknown reason. And apparently, Wes wanted Johnny Depp to be there, but he was too fucking timid to ask him. Apparently, because he says he watched all the movies before he decided to start writing for a new Nightmare, but I'm not sure if he did wholeheartedly, because if he'd seen that Johnny Depp was in the last movie, like, well, there's no way he wouldn't say no to me doing this one.
Yeah, because he likes Wes.
Yeah, he did Freddy's Dead in a fucking drug PSA dream sequence. He will come back for New Nightmare, Wes.
For sure.
Go ask him. But he was too big of a star. Which, I mean, in '94, Johnny Depp was not a huge star. He was like...
No, he wasn't.
Gilbert Grape was like a big movie for him then, which is big, but not that big.
Yeah.
Not unreachable big for Wes Craven Horror Master.
We're already like 51 minutes into the podcast,
So,
but
it doesn't matter.
We got to talk about two aspects.
2.
One being the matte painting used at the end, that one's a little rough for the transition to the dream world or wherever.
I would have totally. I mean, I get it for like being an ancient evil, like it looks like Rome, like a nightmare Rome. But I would have really, again, going back to my brain's concept of New Nightmare, I would have loved either Nancy's house, the Elm Street house, her actual house,
boiler room.
Or the boiler room, yes.
Should be the boiler room.
Any of those 3 locations would have been fine.
This is kind of the equivalent of the ancient Rome boiler room. And the other sequence that is always stuck out to me, and it is still pretty creepy, especially more so in that fan cut thing that you have.
The Dark Nightmare?
The Dark Nightmare fan cut, if you guys can find this on the interwebs, it's just a free download. And it's a re-edited version of Wes Craven's New Nightmare with a lot less Freddy. Which,
almost no Freddy.
Yeah, which most people would be like, well, I don't want to watch that. But I promise you, boy, it's effective.
Yeah, we went into it blind. Roger and I watched this blind because I got it from a buddy of mine. I think Liquid Pig hooked me up with it because he's like, have you ever seen this? And I'm like, no, but we'll check it out. And we watched it together and like, there's no Freddy in this. But like, we just kept like, this is interesting. This is a different aspect.
It's really good, but the sequence I'm speaking of is Chase's funeral. And boy, that's a weird level of nightmare fuel. Again, I talked about it when we were talking about like Elm Street 4, like you kind of always daydream that the person that has passed on is just going to open their eyes and be like, hey, I was just fucking around, let's go home.
Well, we get it in this movie, but with blood dripping from the eyes.
Oh, it is... And the music,
the music, but again, I'm crediting Heather Langenkamp because she makes some fucking sounds that are, I mean, I feel very appropriate where she's, when he's just falling dead weight on her. Stay with me, Heather.
Oh, dude, so effective. And that whole, like, just seeing his claw going down the, like, ruffled, coffin interior
the
or whatever
shirt looking material.
Yeah, it's all weird looking, but like it's lit, creepy. There's some fog going on,
some sound design too. There's like a choo 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 kind of a kind of sound going on.
And going back to what you were saying earlier about like a giggly, more creepy Freddy, and that's in that sequence he does have a little giggle, and it goes very, very much Elm Street 1.
Yeah.
In that aspect, and it's fucking perfect. Yeah, and here's where it's different in the official release compared to that fan cut. In the official release, we get to see Freddy pulling Dylan down
for a whole hot like 2 seconds.
Yeah, we get, and it's really brightly lit.
Yeah.
So it's like,
but it's brightly lit.
Weird.
But I mean, because it's so short and so stark, it still gets you. Like the first time, it's still like, ooh, that That was one of two sequences that I remember to this day when I got to see this at the theater, getting an audience reaction was that first shot of Freddy, and then at the end when he pops up behind the grate and goes, "Hey!" and spits out his snake tongue.
Spits out his Laffy Taffy tongue.
Yeah.
Which, that sequence has always really bothered my wife. Every time we watch this movie, she's like, is this the one with the tongue? Like, the tongue scares her. It's gross and slimy, and like,
that's one of Heather's photos on her table for autographs. Is there with that fucking tongue snake?
I think that's the one my wife got signed.
That's one I have signed. One of many I have signed. But that's one I had signed so we could get her autograph transferred to get tattooed on.
Because for whatever reason, that really grosses my wife out, and it's fun to kind of watch my wife squirm every time that sequence happens. But speaking of that sequence,
I was going to ask you something about that sequence, but go ahead.
Oh, we got to talk about Miko Hughes. There's a shot of Miko Hughes running away from Freddy, and when they were filming, Miko Hughes Freddy wasn't supposed to be there, so Miko was just supposed to like run up these steps and hear Freddy or whatever, and then turn around and run back. So Robert, being Robert, was like,
"You want me to turn it up?"
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it up, and I'm gonna be there. And so Wes was like, "Okay." And so the look of fucking pure, unadulterated terror on this child's face is pure gold.
Matches Feldman in Nightmare in Friday 4.
Oh god, yeah, when fucking Ted White bursts through the help me. So good.
Oh yeah, so I was gonna ask you something about that the snake tongue sequence.
Okay.
Curious if it ever bothered you in a technical aspect, because it did, even for me the first time I seen it. We get shots of the tongue going all around Heather, like completely boa constricting, like under her shirt, all around her head, around her torso, like it's just encompassing her. And then we cut away to Miko Hughes running up, stabbing the tongue. And then when you cut back to it being on Heather, it's just wrapped around her head. Like, it's not around her torso or anything. It's just like 3 layers wrapped around her head. I'm like, that's not how it looked a second ago.
No, I guess I never really noticed that continuity error. So
it's not
now I'm going to. Now it's going to be super fucking glaring for me. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Just like I ruined Nightmare 3 when and the other snake sequence when Patricia Arquette stunt double does the arms crossed wrestling body slam training, hits the ground,
not
like
break her fucking shoulder blades. or whatever.
Not to fucking bust your shoulder blades out when you hit the fucking ground at 10 feet up in the air, flat back. Like that's bump training right there,
dude. So speaking of other like really good sequences in this film, again, pretty much any time Kruger's on screen, it's solid. But when Nancy is or Heather is kind of turning into
now you're
Nancy,
doing it. Now you're John Saxon here. We're gaslighting.
When Heather starts turning into Nancy, which is giving Freddy the power, and he comes out of the bed in Dylan's room, and he's like just like specifically, which they used in the trailer and I think the soundtrack commercial, the silhouette shot of his shadow on the wall.
Oh, his Nosferatu moment.
Oh my god, it is totally Nosferatu. Good call. Like, it's so iconic and scary, and the whole thing with him like peeling the sheet open, which is always like rubber.
Yeah.
It's so weird, like a stretchy like rubber thing.
Looks like a pancake batter or pizza dough.
Yeah. And then him like stepping on the model airplane.
That's always a weird little thing that like bothered me as a kid, is like that, and like when the Terminator runs over the toy car on the road, like destroying little things of youth, I guess, cuts to the inner child core of me.
You're like, why? He could have stepped anywhere, but he stepped on that airplane. What a meanie.
Yeah.
Mean.
Or Marvin to step on. I'm going to kill that kid.
Micro Machines.
Now we're making a very different Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Oh my God! Imagine Miko Hughes booby trapping the shit out of his house, and Kruger just paint cans to the face and shit.
But it's like that Christmas horror movie. I forget the title of it, where we actually see the paint can thing done for real, and it just
Better watch out.
Just fucking takes that dude's face off.
Yeah.
Like, oh Jesus, he's completely remodeled Home Alone for me now. Now it's a horror movie for sure.
So also speaking of Scream, I guess we didn't bring him up, and I forget the actor's name, but we talked about after Chase dies. So this to me is one of the roughest sequences, is when Heather has to go identify the body. She doesn't have to, but she does. You know, she goes because she wants to see that he is gone. And the morgue attendant that's like
Earl Brown.
Yeah, he is Kenny, the cameraman from Scream.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of got this little throwaway role as this morgue attendant.
Which they just let anyone walk into, by the way.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, you can just stroll into a morgue while people are eating sandwiches and cutting up.
It is fucking blood-curdling, and just blood-curdling when she's walking through it, and you just hear somebody wailing in the background. Yeah. Not weeping, fucking wailing from a distance, and you have no idea why.
Yeah. It's a great sequence, but
it is.
That actor, you just said his name,
Earl Brown.
Yeah, and he was also in Deadwood, which is phenomenal in.
Never watched that.
Oh God, so good.
Oh my God.
He, it's just kind of a little throwaway role, but that actor has such a softness and likability about him.
I think it's the voice and eyes combination.
It's definitely something with the eyes too, and the way he kind of holds his jaw slack, like he's kind of holding back, maybe crying, you can tell that he feels for her. It really comes across that he feels for her. That's why we don't lift the sheet past the face, ma'am. That whole delivery of that line,
hiding the arm that's dangling out before she can see it. God.
But that whole sequence of her looking at Chase and vomiting. Again, this isn't your traditional boogie boogie Freddy movie. He's not saying a bunch of funny shit.
We're not having a body fall down a fucking vaginal looking crater, and then we're I don't remember no John or Spencer or John Doe.
Yeah, no, we get to go to the morgue and see what death is really like. And it's just such a fucking heavy movie.
Ooh, to tie into that slightly, I know this is a shot you probably fucking love because it so sticks out. Tell me I'm wrong then when I mention it, but when Heather gets the knock on the door,
they do the Jaws shot?
Yes, we do that Roy Scheider Jaws shot of her looking at the door like she knows.
And the music. Yeah, no, of course I love that.
Out-of-body kind of experience, your
world is about to change.
Yeah, your world's about to change. Your physical body is right there, but your metaphysical body is just...
Yep. No, of course I love that. That's... and it gets overused. A lot of people are like, ooh, do the Jaws thing.
Here it is done right.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of what that shot feels like. When you watch it in Jaws, and that's I think that wasn't the first time it was done, but we always refer to it as the Jaws shot.
Yeah.
It's an emotional shot, and it should be used as such. And most other people just do it because they're like, ooh, do the Jaws shot. In this particular instance, doing that,
it's layered. It's not.
Yeah, it makes you feel for Nancy or Heather immediately.
It's not a surface trying to just be cool, artsy. Wouldn't it be neat to do this shot? I want to be like Sam Raimi kind of shit. It's layered. It's
like an onion.
Yeah, it's stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff that makes it worthwhile.
Absolutely. Well, we've spent an hour and 4 minutes. Is there anything else you want to cover before we move on to the next segments? Because, dude, we can go forever about this movie, to be honest, or any movie in this franchise.
I mean, I guess we could wrap talking about one. We talked a little bit about John Saxon, which he didn't have a whole lot, but we do like anything he fucking does. But
oh god, yeah.
How about the the sub villain in this movie we have not talked about at all, that Wes wrote after one of the MPAA people, Dr. Hefner.
Oh yeah, boy, she is. You want her to die, and unfortunately, she never fucking does. Good God, is like, and as a kid, you know she's bad, right? Like, it's kind of like what's the doctor's name in Dream Warriors? That she feels like she was being a good guy, but to the audience, she's a bad guy. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes, I would need a moment in thought.
Be careful, Max.
I'm actually trying to replay the fucking scene in my mind where Taryn is calling the doctor on the phone at the bar and saying that Dr. sedated her. Fuck.
But
Ken Sagos.
But,
Ken
yeah,
Sagos.
we having a Ken Sagos moment. But so to the audience, this doctor in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, she's a bad guy. But to her, I feel like she was playing it similar to the Dream Warriors lady. Like, no, I'm a good guy. I'm looking out for this child's well-being.
And
I'm not necessarily a bad person.
And when you take yourself out of it being a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, if you look at this as if we were looking at it as a news story in real life, we would totally be on her side. Like, this mom comes in with a fucking gray streak being like, an earthquake just hit here. And like, no, it didn't. She's like,
yeah.
She thinks a character from her fucking movie she did is alive. Like, she's a B-movie actress that's gone crazy. She's going to kill this kid.
Ghostbusters 2. Commit them, real fucking quick. Like,
definitely, they should, instead of shooting Miko Hughes with some kind of sedative, they should be like, hey, what's that? And then popping her in the back of the neck with this shit, and she wakes up in a straitjacket. Free me, you idiot! I'm your fucking memory.
I don't think she ever lets him get a good night's sleep. But yeah, dude,
I understand it entirely. Like, I didn't want to wake you. You look so exhausted. But like, yeah, I'm kind of, I get it.
Yeah, as an adult. When we watch that, and your brain immediately goes to
Dr. Sims.
We're thinking about the. Yeah, there you go, Dr. Sims to the examination staff.
That's exactly what I thought of too. It's exactly what I thought of.
We got the same brain.
Yes,
man. But you put yourself in the perspective of a parent now, at least for us, because we are parents. So the first thing we think of isn't about Heather Langenkamp's safety. It's about Miko Yu's safety. So
that's a world-changing thing too. Like, prior to us having kids, like, we'd be like, fuck that kid, he's gone. And like, why would you go in after, like, why would you go down, take all these sleeping pills which should kill her from overdose, unless they're just her just accepting.
They're children's.
Yeah, they're children's.
Sleeping pills.
Yeah, they're just fucking Tic Tacs. But it's her accepting going into the world that she's in. But having the kids that you do fall in love with, then it's easy to be like, oh, I heard them. I'll go down this fucking tunnel and slide down to see what the hell is going on. Completely different world-changing view.
It's the same thing with, and it's also very subtle, but this is also Heather and Wes Craven doing things right, is when Dylan won't talk because he's traumatized, and Heather's like desperate. I'll do anything. What do you need? What do you want me to do? I will fix this. I'm your mom. I've got your back. And Dylan just looks next to him, and Heather's like, it's Rex. You want Rex. You need Rex. That is it, right here, right now, as a parent. I don't give a fuck if it's 3 hours away. Like, I'm going, I will be back as fucking fast as possible. Or I'm making a phone call and having John Saxon bring me that fucking dinosaur. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it takes to make this kid feel better, I'm going to do. And it comes across in Heather's performance in this movie, and also in Wes's writing. Like, again, different animal, fucking different animal.
Different animal, and all things that we would point to that I'm sure we would get snickered at, but things we would point to and be like, no. Because some people want to criticize that she's not a great actress, or
they're wrong.
She sucks. Like,
they're so wrong.
There's a reason that she is my all-time final girl, scream queen, whatever you want to call her. She is a fucking warrior.
She's the blueprint.
Yes.
There's no like, and I mean, it can be up for debate. Someone can have another final girl that they like more, and we'll always be like, well, here's why we think Nancy is. That's just, you and I have always kind of agreed on that.
It's science.
Yeah, it is. It's just pure
science.
Bill Nye science.
It's unarguable. You can't fight science. So yes, Heather is the ultimate warrior woman.
Ultimate warrior. I don't know what voice that was.
Do not degrade Heather Langenkamp's legacy with the Ultimate Warrior.
You don't besmirch her.
You do not. You do not besmirch her, my ultimate hall pass lady.
We've spent an hour and 10 minutes-ish discussing Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and we could probably go another hour and 10 minutes, but we're going to wrap up our general discussion to move on to our next segment. So what does that mean, Evil?
It's mean to do our favorite thing in the world for Roger here, since he loves his movies so dearly. It's time to make him angry. It's time to look at some Amazon 1-star reviews.
Hated it.
All right, first on the list, I got to make sure I read the right ones because I have multiple of these saved for various films. So I got to make sure I'm sticking to New Nightmares. But first up, we have on VRAD13 on May 29, 2018. He says 1 star, worst of the series. Like a third grader wrote this one. So I just think
that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
This feels
false. You're wrong.
Wrong.
Locked. You ever fucking compare Wes Craven's writing style to a third grader again? I'll kill you. I'm coming for you.
We've seen third grader writing. It's not that good, trust me.
Yeah. No, I used to write stories when I was in third grade, and it was like, he went to the store. He got attacked by ninjas.
It's like that run-on story where it has no point at all, and the end of it is just like, and it is because I know it is.
Yeah, and then he went to bed. The end.
What's this have to do with you needing a yellow crayon again?
Don't know. That's that third grade mentality.
So next up, we have Johnny Bottom.
Johnny Bottom.
Totally sounds like that's a character that would be selling you drugs in a 50s PSA,
or a fucking Guy Ritchie movie. This is Johnny Bottoms.
Johnny Bottoms has information that you just need to beat the shit out of him to get, and he will not tell you until you hit him at least 3 times.
He's played by Benicio del Toro for some fucking reason.
No. We can We can do better. Like Paul Giamatti.
Oh.
Paul Giamatti is a Johnny Bottoms.
Johnny Bottoms, eh?
I'm Johnny Bottoms.
I know. I just heard Paul Giamatti. That wasn't the best impression, but I heard it. I know what you're doing.
You heard me channeling Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti's Johnny Bottoms in January 23rd, 2001. He says 1 star. What was the point of this? Talk about beating a dead horse. How much further can the Freddy thing get stretched? The idea of a character from the movies becoming real because he was so evil is ludicrous at best. It would be like walking into 7-Eleven and bumping into Darth Vader as you were filling up your big gulp. Robert Englund was happy to make this, I'm sure. I mean, after a while, people started calling him Freddy everywhere. What else was he gonna do? Make cereal or laundry soap commercials? Stick with the original series? This was stupid.
Wow. Okay, so this dude likes Dream Child over Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
I'm just I kept reading, but in my head I was just stuck on Darth Vader at the big gulp machine in a 7-Eleven.
Yes.
I know we have a wonderful artist that's done our Tapehead poster art and is doing the next one. Can we commission him to do a Robert Englund as Freddy running into Darth Vader at a 7-Eleven Big Gulp machine?
Most likely.
Can we get that commissioned and I'll frame it and put it behind me on the set?
I'll put the call in.
Let's have him listen to this show when it comes out. Next up is Leatherhead on March 11th, 2001.
That's a long time ago. 21 years ago, a Ninja Turtle villain.
Why, Wes? Why? If you're a big fan of the Nightmare series, forget this one. This is the one that won't be a new Nightmare on Elm Street. It's because of Wes that there won't be a new Nightmare on Elm Street sequel. The plot for this is that the Freddy character...
Character?
Charicter character was reincarnated into real life. He's stalking Robert Englund and Heather Langenkamp, the stars from the first Nightmare. They should have at least left it at 6, or could have had Alice's son be stalked by Freddy, but no. Wes wanted to screw up the Nightmare series. He has no capitalization on any of these, but he has exclamation points and shit on. So I had no idea where to put emphasis until I get to the end of the fucking sentence. If you want the entire collection with one L, do not add this to it. I'm sorry, but you have a hard time getting these movies individually. Most of the time they are sold as entire sets. It's like Mission to Moscow for Police Academy. Nobody really wants that one in their series, but
it just comes with it.
Yeah, you just take it.
Yep. Man, I guess I'm not surprised, motherfucker.
That is the definition of third grade writing right there. A lot of misspellings, sentences, nothing is capitalized, no beginnings of sentences, no names, exclamation points with no capitalizations or emphasis on that. Like this, I'm not correcting your English to be popular. I'm doing it because it's right.
Here's the, that's the prime example of you can't please everybody all the time is... Wes taking this over, obviously this going in a different direction wasn't going to make certain fans of the franchise happy because they like what they're getting. But if you look back at like reviews and like fan mail in like Fangoria's talking about like Elm Street 5 and Freddy's Nightmares, a lot of it was, boy, I wish he would be more serious. I wish... it was, the way it used to be. I wish it was scary again. And so Wes takes over and makes it scary again. And then you've got people going, well, why isn't he being dumb? And why isn't he fucking chasing Alice's son? Like, you just can't make everybody happy. There's always someone who's like, bang, not what I wanted. Well,
it's true. You can't make everyone happy all the time, but you can try to make yourself happy all the time.
Yep.
And failure is just success training. So that rounded our negativity of 1 star. This is from Joe Lloyd 85 on September 13th, 2012. My mistake.
DVD.
No, but this is all in caps, so bear with me. 1 star.
All right, I'm gonna back up.
I'm gonna back up. Really poor film. The worst Freddy film ever made. This Freddy movie was disappointing. Freddy was hardly in film. This movie is about a camera crew making another Freddy movie with all same characters from the first Freddy films. Freddy Hands comes to life and does all the killings, and it do silly that away kick as well. I prefer the horror when they fall to sleep. Lol. It is so bad that tongues come through phone sets. There is a wee boy. The film that becomes obsessed by Freddy. Don't buy this one, the worst one ever.
That fucking review was all over the fucking place.
All over the place, to say the least. All same characters from the first Freddy films. Freddy's hand does all the killings. Well, he does that in all the movies anyway.
Yeah, so technically he does stab someone with his glove in this movie, but
yeah, I'm gonna see if I can reread this corrected. This Freddy movie was disappointing. I'm just going to put my own words in. Freddy was hardly in this film, and it's really about a camera crew making another Freddy film with all the characters from the first Freddy films. And Freddy's hand does all the killings. It's pretty silly when his hand comes to life when people are awake. Also, I prefer the horror when they fall asleep. Ha ha ha. It is bad. Tongues come through the phone, not through as in I threw a baseball through. There is a small child in the film that becomes obsessed with Freddy. Don't buy this movie, it's the worst one ever. Even trying to correct everything that's fucked up about it.
His tongue doesn't come out of the phone in this movie, just the spit.
There is that deleted scene, like it's a hot flash and you miss it. I think it's in Never Sleep Again where Heather's answering the phone and it does turn into the tongue phone for a hot second.
I don't recall that. So
it's literally like a second fucking long, and it's somewhere in that 4-hour documentary.
Well, you know what? I've got a lot of time to kill before the fights tonight, so I might just throw that bad boy on.
Just fast forward all the way to the New Nightmare section.
No. That's something. That's something. Someone who would half-ass something would do. I'll watch that whole documentary.
That's if you were just, but we've seen it enough times. We know. Shit, I keep trying to find people that upload it to YouTube just so I can play the audio of it while I'm at work and listen to it again.
Man. Well, you know what you could do is, do you have it digitally? Do you own it digitally in any
New Nightmare? No, I don't yet. I have 1 through 4.
No, not New Nightmare. The documentary, Never Sleep Again.
I do have it digitally.
You can record the audio via Audacity, and then you can put it on your phone. We'll figure it out. I'll help you out. We'll figure something out.
I do that with the movies, too. I try to find someone that's uploaded any of the Nightmare movies, even if it's for a hot minute before someone takes it down. Like, not to watch it, but just click to have the audio playing on YouTube. So I'll just listen to the fucking movie while I'm doing my day job.
Yep. I do the same shit, man. Like, I love to just listen to a movie. And it's the same thing with us when we listen to scores. If I just listen to the score to a movie, I can play the entire movie in my head if I know it well enough. And that's just something I like to do. But was that your last 1-star review?
That's such a fucking wild 1-star. I'm actually going to go back and find that one, and I'm actually going to post that in our BTS Patreon section on our Discord, because holy shit, it's a gem.
That is weird. But since we're done with the Amazon 1-star reviews, Evil, what does that mean?
It's time. Well, I mean, sidebar at the time of this recording, at least, he's more or less seemingly phased out of the world of wrestling, but we can always time travel back to 2001, 2002. Imagine it's January 7th, 2002. Imagine you're in Madison Square Garden. You've been waiting 9 months after a torn quadricep injury. You just want to see the cerebral assassin, Triple H, the King of Kings, make his return to the professional wrestling ring to announce his entry into the Royal Rumble 2002. It's time to play the game.
It's time to play the game. Time to play the game.
It's all about the game and how you played it. And this is a script. I didn't know anything about it. I'm as far as Dylan trying to reach God. Don't know what that means.
Whatever that means. Oh boy. That's right. It is time to play the game. And if you're asking yourself, what is the game? It's probably because you're new here. And if you're new here, welcome. What you're listening to is the Deep Cut Podcast. So we like to wrap up every single episode with a little thing we call the prop game. What is the prop game exactly? It is a deep cut in and of itself where we pick a prop from the film that we are covering, but it cannot be a super well-known prop. And since we're covering the Elm Street franchise, that means it can't be Freddy's hat, glove, sweater, yada, yada. You gotta pick something that's a deep cut. As Evil would say, go deep or
go the fuck home.
Yes. So, it's time to jump off and play the game and end this podcast. There's plenty of weird stuff in this movie.
There is, and a lot of them I feel like they're not deep enough cuts, so I guess I can only go scream, 3 to 4 inches on the side deep.
Yeah.
I can only go Skeet Ulrich deep.
Whoa. All right.
Yeah, that might be a pretty good, Crucifix deep is all the way in. Skeet Ulrich deep is, a mere flesh wound that just might be a little bit too deep, but we're not totally sure. It might be too deep.
You fuck.
Give me the phone, dick.
So do you want to start or do you want me to go?
Because I'm kind of between two. I'm leaning more towards one, and I don't think they're necessarily super, super deep. So I'll go first, hoping you have a better traditional deep cut. I have faith in you that you do. My initial, I was torn. My initial thing is ooh, I'd like to get John Saxon's badge. That you see.
Nice.
Or his, his fucking members only jacket that he puts back on. Mm-hmm. But if I really wanted, I was like, what would I really, really, really want?
You want that painting. Don't lie.
The painting is cool, but honestly, I really want the script that's at the very end that's with Wes's writing in it. Thanks for playing Nancy one last time. Regards, Wes.
That's nice. That's a good deep cut, dude. I like that.
Yep. I was like, ooh, that's multi-layered, too. I was like, I got to go with that. I want that other shit. I was like, I want the script.
Very cool. My deep cut prop pick, it's a little different. And if you have seen this documentary that we've been speaking of, Never Sleep Again, you probably have heard a story about this prop because they spend some time talking about it.
There might be a fan film about it.
It's not maybe.
Maybe.
It's not something subtle. It's not something I can fucking tuck away. But what I want for my prop game is the playground set that Miko Hughes tries to reach God with, because he already got that. That's actually in his own fucking yard.
Oh man! But I honestly was
going Rex. Thought I was going.
Yeah,
Rex.
I thought for sure I would save you for the end because you're you always have talked about wanting a Rex. And I only thing I keep forgetting is which Rex you would take.
With the slashes.
The slashed Rex, the unslashed Rex, or the Rex that's been stitched with the red stitching Rex.
Stitched up. I'm gonna get that tattooed on me eventually because that is a multi-layered deep cut of a tattoo. But it's just the playground set appeals to the child in me. Appeals to kind of the sadness, the weird sadness in this movie.
Because that's a fucked up scene. We didn't talk about that, but the God Wouldn't Take Me. That's, holy God, that's a fucked up scene. The only way I can kind of watch it and kind of try to have levity to it is just that's a really faulty designed playground equipment thing.
It really is.
That's really a 90s constructed playground set when safety was such an afterthought.
Mm-hmm. Can we also please talk about, I know we brought it up briefly in discussing this film.
Briefly.
But the goddamn score to this movie, a lot of I call them breathy la-las. I don't know how else to explain it. Yeah, it's very Pet Sematary-esque. It's almost kind of a choir of children.
It's kind of, it has that weird
it's
got a weird upbeat to it when you get towards the end credits, which makes it weird. And it's very grand, it's an orchestra. Bwah, bwah, bwah.
Yeah, but the score in this movie is so different from previous entries. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very, very big feeling.
Grand.
So, yeah, that's the best way to put it. Grand.
Yes.
And the score that goes along with when he's trying to reach God. I'm getting goosebumps right now, not just because it's cold down here.
I love that one lady grabs her kid and they just fucking run away. He's gonna fall on one of my kids. We gotta get out of here. So I do.
Fuck out of here.
I chuckle at that too. They're not trying to catch him. A mom's really taking her kid and just hauling ass out of the playground. Fuck your kid.
But yeah, I really wanted that prop. I feel that whole sequence too is it's very like multi-layered, and that's a heavy, weird conversation that as an adult with children, it's inevitable. Like you have to have that conversation with your kids at some point.
And there's no blueprint.
No,
everybody's different how they take it, so there's no right or wrong way to go about it. You just have it's such a going on feel with each individual person plan.
Yeah. And it's just, it's super relevant, I guess, for who I am now as an adult. And I just think it would be kind of cool, to look out in the backyard and have that playground there.
It totally would be. And yeah, Miko Hughes knew that then and took it. And sidebar for Miko Hughes, congrats on turning into like the fucking heartthrob that he looks to be. Like, so many kids that are growing up and just look like shit. Miko Hughes, look like, man, he actually looks pretty fucking good.
Was super normal. Like, that's one thing. It's a success story because most of the child actors from the 80s and whatnot
or tragedies.
Really grew up, to have a lot of drug problems or molestation and things like that.
Or nothing else. They just look like giant children and they're trying to grow facial hair. I'm looking at you, kid from Part 5.
Yeah, you weirdo. You fucking weirdo.
He does look fucking weird. He might be a sweetheart of a guy, but he looks fucking weird. He looks like a little kid with dirt on his face trying to be an adult. Miko Hughes actually grew the fuck up. And yeah.
And is, from everything that I've seen, not a bad person. Not a lot of headlines on fucking TMZ or run-ins with the law and shit like that.
Kid from Pet Sematary involved. If he was ever involved in a fucking car crash, they'd be bringing up that fucking footage from Pet Cemetery and New Nightmare to talk about it. Guaranteed.
Yep, absolutely. I don't think there's a more perfect way to end this podcast. Miko Hughes involved in whatever vehicular homicide
involving an Orinco truck and trying to cross the freeway, drunken accident. Oh man! So that concludes our Nightmare on Elm Street series, right? We're done.
No, we got the remake.
Oh well, we got
2 weeks.
We're redoing Freddy vs. Jason though, right?
Never ever again.
I'll shout to the heavens. Hey Raj, can we cover Freddy vs. Jason one more time? And Roger will look back at me and whisper, "No."
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.